One who did the work for this problem, it seemed to be okay. I'm going to quickly review this with you. If you take the derivative of a polynomial, which means you have more than one term, okay? If you have more than one term, just take the derivative one by one. So I noticed one of you was split up into like two different functions, and you take the derivative one by one, which is working out just fine. So when you take the derivative, remember that's f prime. You have to write the prime, the apostrophe. That indicates that you are taking the derivative, okay? So the first one, I'm going to highlight this one. This is the first function. So I'm going to take the derivative of that one. Remember, when you take the derivative, you take the power, bring it to the front, okay? And then what you do with the power is that it's always minus 1. So the power is 3 minus 1, okay? Then you're going to move on to the next term, which is the negative 4. When you look at the negative 4, here's the thing. If you think of negative 4 as y equal negative 4x, right? And the slope of this function would be negative 4. So if you have a linear function of the power of 1, you can think of that way. So the derivative of this is going to be negative 4. That is a short way for you to do it. If you don't remember that, you can still apply the power rule, which if you can think of this as 1, right, y prime. So I put 1 times negative 4x 1 minus 1. So 1 times negative 4 gives you negative 4x. 1 minus 1 gives you 0. And the power of anything to the 0 power would be 1. So your final answer is just 4. Okay? This would be the long way for you to do it. It's just in case that you don't remember the rule. But if you have a linear function of the power of 1, the derivative is just that number. That is a slope. Okay? The derivative of a constant, if you look at the last one, if it's y equals 5, it's a horizontal line. And we know horizontal line, the slope is 0. So if that's 0, I don't have to write that out. You could, but you don't have to. So now we're just going to finalize the answer. So 3 minus 1 is 2 minus 4. Okay? And that is the final answer. I think about half of you got it. The other half, you got part of it correct, and the other part is not. I did not have a chance to give feedback to all of you because I was trying to admit a student and give you the link so that I can go back and give you feedback later. But now you can take a look. So when you take the derivative, if it's a lengthy function, just do it by one, okay? If it's separate by a plus or minus, it doesn't matter. You separate into two different functions and then take the derivative one by one. Any questions for me on this one? Put in the chat if you feel this is something that you need more review so that I can prep for Wednesday. We're going to do some review on Wednesday. Okay. All right, let's see. Do this. More review. Okay, so definitely more review on these problems. I will put more practice on Wednesday, so we're definitely going to review with polynomials. For along the way for today, it's going to be different a little bit, but we still go into, in this one, we're going to review this as well. But before we review polynomials, we're going to run into some problem like this. It's like you have two functions, either multiply or divide. This looks strange. So this is not something that you know what to do yet because you have two different functions, right? And then they multiply with each other. So I'm not going to use the power rule right away unless I have a polynomials, which some of you already asked me that, yes, more review. So I will prep more of those, okay, for next time. So before we do this, before we even take the derivative, if you run into this, you need to multiply it out first. So here's the option. We can use FOIL to multiply it out. Or if you want to use the Punnett square, you could. All right. So if you don't have a polynomials, we just go ahead and multiply it out. Then we get the polynomials. Then we're gonna review what we covered before. All right. So just in case you forgot, so x squared, x squared plus 1, right? X minus 3. What should be in my first box? I just multiply them. I add the exponents. So x to the third. 1 times x is 1x. Negative 3 times x squared is negative 3x squared. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Okay, so now I would turn this into a polynomials. Do I have to write this in order? You don't have to, but it'd be nice if you list them in the order of the power. You don't have to, but it won't hurt. So now my polynomial is x to the third minus 3x squared plus 1x minus 3. Question for me, is this something that you need more review and multiply the two products using Punnett square or FOIL? Or you like, I got it, I know what to do, I learned in pre-cal, I learned in algebra 2, I'm good with this. So this is my question, do we need review with this Punnett square? No. Okay. All right, I'm gonna erase this. So when you run into something a bit weird like this, the first steps, I just multiply it out. And here for those who are asking for more review on the derivative of polynomials, now we can take a look at this because now this one is polynomials, right? Once you multiply it out, when you expand the product, you get polynomials. So I'm take the derivative, g prime. Okay, so let's do one by one. The first one is this term right here, x to the third. So I'm going to do that one first. So how do I do that one? What should I do? What should I get? So that's the question you can ask yourself. I'm going to do it one by one. If it's separate by minus or plus, I'm going to do this one first. So x to the third. What is the derivative of x to the third? What do I do with that power? Okay. So some of you, thank you. So some of you already share the final answer, right? Which is 3x squared. Yes, thank you. So it's 3x squared, but I'm just going to review the rule for those who not remember. What you do with the power, see this 3, bring it down to the front, right? And then the power minus 1. Okay. Now I'm going to move on to the next one. So let's look at this. Okay. Now move on to the next term. I'm doing the same thing. Do you see the minus? I just bring down the minus. Okay. Now what you do, you see the power is 2. You bring it to the front. When you bring it to the front, you're gonna remember you're gonna multiply whatever. This is the same thing as 1. So 3 times 1. So I don't have to write for the first one, right? There's the 3. Same thing. 2 minus 1. Okay. Now, this is the one that I'm going to ask you to share with me. For the next term, 1x. What is the derivative of that one? If you do the shortcut, if you remember what I shared with you, what is the derivative of that term? It is 1. Thank you, Han. So it is 1, right? That is the slope. This is the linear function. This is the power of 1. So I know it's going to be 1. What about the derivative of negative 3? The derivative of a constant is what? Think about if you graph a line. A constant is this horizontal line. So what is the slope of that one? Zero. Thank you, Justin, Elena, and Hian. So this one is, sorry. So this is just 0, right? Okay, now we're just going to finalize this problem. So it's 3x to the second power. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 plus 0 is just 1. So this is my final answer. This is my derivative. Okay, this is a long way that I'm doing. I'm showing you step by step like what I do to get this final answer. But I know for some of you, you can do it mentally and you know the 3. You look at x to the third, you know the derivative is 3x squared right away. You can do it in your head, and which is fine. You can skip the second step, like this one is fine. Right? If you can do it in your head, you can skip a few steps. That is fine. It's okay. But what I do, it seemed like a lengthy problem because I'm going through this and explain to you every single steps. But it shouldn't take that long. Okay. Question for this problem. Okay. I will turn this into students' pace, and then what you do if you took notes using Peardex, what you can do is you can just go back and copy down the notes or save it. Now we're gonna skip to actually this one is pretty much, we're not gonna multiply this one out because it's probably take too long. So basically this is the same thing as x minus 3, x minus 3, 3 times, right? In order for you to take the derivative of this one, you just have to multiply the first two. Then you have a polynomial, then you multiply with the last expression, and then you have a much longer polynomials. We're going to skip this one for now. The most I can do is I'm just going to have you multiply twice. Okay, we're going to look at division. So the last time is product, for this one is division. So I'm going to rewrite this. We spent some time last time to rewrite when you have radical. Okay, so 2x squared minus 3x. The denominator is 1/2. That's the power. So we have to simplify this one. If you run into a division problems, what you can do is we just subtract the power. Okay. This is the same thing. If we split it up, it's the same as 2x squared over x 1/2 minus 3x over x 1/2. Here's a question that I'm going to ask you. Do we remember when we divide? What do you do with the exponent? Anyone remember? So if I have to simplify this one, what do I do? Subtract? Yes, we subtract the exponent. So over here, 2 minus 1/2, that give you, if you do 2 minus 1/2, right? So this 2 over 1 times 2, so 4 over 2 minus 1/2 is 3 over 2. That's when you do it by hand. The example I'm doing with you is a fraction, but the practice and the test, I'm not going to use that fraction for you to subtract. I'm going to give you integers. So it's going to be much easier with the next practice, but I'm just giving you. So when you do divide, I will split it up, try to cancel out. Same thing over here. This is the 1 minus 1/2. So that would be x to the 1/2. So when you change this into polynomial, then we can take the derivative, which is the same as we done before. Bring the 3/2 to the front. 3 over 1/2 minus 1. 1/2, I bring it to the front, times 3. 1/2 minus 1. Okay, and then I can just simplify this one. The 2 cancel out, or if you multiply, it's going to turn into 6 over 2. If you simplify, that would be 3. 3 over 2 minus 1 give you 1/2. This is 3 over 2. And this is negative 1/2. So like I said, the practice, this is the most difficult example that I'm giving to you. But don't worry, I'm not going to give you anything with the fraction. I'm just throw it in just in case that you run into some of the problem in CUDA-Works or Khan Academy. You may see this, but the exam, the summative that I'm giving you, I will not test you on square root or any. For this problem, I'm not going to give you the fraction as the exponent. So for this one, it's negative, so I'm going to bring it down to x1/2. Okay. So if you run into divisions, I will try to simplify it. So division is harder than multiplication a little bit. So I'll give you a few minutes just to copy this down or take a picture if you have to. And then we do more example. Okay, so go ahead and take notes. I'll wait. All right, this is most likely the one that you will run into. This is the one that I will test you. So let's look at this one, okay? This is division. So what I would do, I will split it up into 1, 2, 3, okay? So x to the third over x minus 4x squared over x plus 5x over x. Then we're going to simplify. So I'm going to ask you if you can share in the chat what would be my first term if I simplify this one. It's like a power of 1, 1, 1. So what do I get for the first one? If I'm going to simplify that. X where? Yes. Because what you do is you take the power 3 minus 1, give you 2. Good. All right, let's move on to the next term. The 4 is going to be there. It's not going to be disappear, right? But what is the x? What power is that going to be for the next term? Just x. Or x to the first power. It's the same. So 2 minus 1. All right, what about the last one? This is 1. This is 1. What happened to the x for the last term? So what do I have left for this term right here? What do I ended up with? The x will cancel out. Yes, so I only have 5. So like I said, the first example is kind of just, it looks scary because it's a fraction. But I want for those who's good with fraction, when you subtract, is work out the same, okay? But I most likely will not assess you on that. So now I just go ahead and take derivative. Again, for those who have asked me to do more review with polynomials, this is polynomial, right? So do it one by one. So I know the 2 going to be in the front. X, the power minus 2, so 2 minus 1 give you 1. So if you can do this fast mentally in your head, like I know a minus 1, I know the power, then you skip the second step, the step in between. Same thing over here. If you recognize this is a linear function, right? The slope would be -4. And then you know this 5 turn into 0. You don't have to write that out. So for some of you, you should be able to do this one a little bit faster than others because you remember the rule, or you can do it. You can do the calculation in your head and like, this is what I got, okay? If you have trouble doing everything together, I would take the steps. I'm going to do this right here, right? So I bring the 2 down, 2 minus 1, okay? This is the 4, and I know the slope of that would be 0. So it's up to you, whichever works for you, then do that. Okay, but this is the answer right here. Questions for me on this problem, this division problem? The only thing extra is that either you're going to multiply the function out to get the polynomials, or you have to simplify by divide the x or get rid of it. And then you will end up with a polynomial. Then you can take the derivative. So all the step, yes, on the step right here, notice when I put the equal sign, right, I haven't taken the derivative yet. Only when I take the derivative, notice I put f prime, right? So this is different right here. I put that sign right there, okay? How do we feel about this? Let's do another one. I'm going to ask you to, I'm going to ask you to try this, even though I know I just did it. But since you don't ask me questions, I'm not sure where you are. So can you please go to Paired? I have this problem. Think about how you simplify this one first. This is the division problems. So try to simplify that first, then take the derivative. All right, so go ahead and give it a try. So this one is tell you this is a function. So basically this one is product. If you run into the product, again, don't take the derivative right away. You don't know how to do this one right away, right? So step number one, because this is a product, so you're gonna multiply it in. So that's the first step. If it's division, then you separate them and minus the power. If it's a product, you distribute or use the Punnett square, whatever works for you, right? So this is gonna be x to the third. This is gonna be 1x. Now you have the polynomial, and now you can take the derivative, which is 3x squared plus 1. Okay. All right, what I'm gonna ask you to do, I have one more thing to go over, but I figure I should give you class time to practice. I'm not gonna go to the next slide, which is we're gonna find the derivative, and then we're gonna find the slope at that given point. So we're gonna hold on to this, because I wanted to give you class time to do practice. So here's the thing. Go ahead and log into CUDA Works. I have two different objectives. Okay, let's do the first one. Let's do it up to, let me take a look. Let me take a look. Let's do the first